Good morning again and welcome back to Life Connect. On Tuesday we were thinking about how we use the word beautiful, and we thought about how it's something, we use that word something when something catches our breath, or something makes our senses real in some way, or perhaps it's an action that is breathtaking in its beauty, or it's a characteristic in a person. It could be their kindness or their gentleness or their humility, or it can be the atmosphere that sometimes we encounter, or some words that melt our hearts, or some objects of creativity that move our spirit. Beautiful, we use that word, don't we? I remember a quote from Brennan Manning, who wrote an amazing book called Ragamuffin Gospel. And in it, he writes these words: "Our world is saturated with grace, and the presence of God is revealed not only in spirit, but in matter. In a deer leaping across a meadow, in the flight of an eagle, in fire and water, in a rainbow after a summer storm, in a gentle doe streaking across a forest, in Beethoven's Ninth Symphony," or I've put in there Oasis's Wonderwall, in a child licking a chocolate ice cream cone, in a woman with windblown hair. God intended for us to discover his loving presence in the world around us. I love that line, in a woman with windblown hair. It reminds me of a line from the book and the film Little Women. Jo, one of the girls, the sisters, his father is sick and mama has to travel to go to her father, and Jo sells her hair to get money. And I think it's Beth's comment, or the little one's comment, that says, "Oh Jo, you're one true beauty. You're one true beauty." Our girls love that part, and it would move us to tears, because that act of having a hair cut off and selling it, what in itself was beautiful. But we see Jesus beautiful. How do we grapple with that when we're singing those words? You are beautiful beyond description, too marvelous for words. What do we mean by that when we sing of Jesus as beautiful? In Psalm 27, David, the king, writes these words. He says this in Psalm 27 and verse 4. "One thing I ask from the Lord, this only do I seek, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to gaze on the beauty of the Lord and to seek him in his temple." Gaze on the beauty or the splendor of the Lord and to seek him. Now, David, remember, was a mighty warrior, an all-conquering king, but this man sees God and describes God as beautiful. Now, in Hebrew, as David writes this, the word for beauty, there's so many words. One can mean fair to the eyes. David himself was described as beautiful, meaning handsome, I guess. Or beautiful can mean good of form, of a woman's body. That was used definitely there. Esther was told about good of form. Rachel, Bathsheba, who David sinned with, was her image was of good of form, or good to look at, or another word used in Hebrew would mean worthy of esteem. But David, you chooses a word here which is unusual. It's quite almost a tame word. The word beauty here means pleasantness. And it's speaking of an attractiveness of nature and character. But we see Jesus beautiful. One of the biggest accusations of the religious elite that were made against Jesus, or about Jesus, or to Jesus, was he consorts with sinners and tax collectors, the riffraff, the lowest in society, and eats with them. It was mainly the ordinary person, bound down by their sin and life itself, that loved being with Jesus, this 30-something man. And it wasn't because he was beautiful of appearance. I remember a number of years ago showing a picture that you'll see come on the screen now, that some research had shown that this is what a Middle Eastern man of the time of Jesus would have looked like. And I wasn't saying this is what Jesus looked like, but I remember a lady in our fellowship coming to me, an elderly lady, and saying, "You have ruined," she was really upset, "you have ruined the picture in my head of mine of Jesus with his lovely golden locks. Where did that come from? Actually, in Isaiah 53, it says there was nothing beautiful or majestic even about his appearance, nothing to attract us to him about his physical appearance. So what was attractive and pleasant and beautiful? What were the words of Jesus? It was said of Jesus, no one spoke or no one speaks like this man. You know, his stories, his parables, his words of truth that he speaks. I could have taken any words, but listen to these words. Jesus said, come unto me, all of you who are weary, all of you that are heavy burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle of heart, and you'll find rest for your souls. Beautiful words. Oh, yes. Character, humility, gentleness, kindness, that caused children to flock to him and drew the religious man who struggled and the rich man who was concerned for his soul, and the women and the mothers who would do anything to survive, to care for their families, but who could sense he loved them for who they really were. And oh, compassion. Such compassion from this man. Such grace to the individual and anger against what ultimately had called the misery in that person's life. Actually, the Bible uses that word compassion, and the gospel writers use it. Compassion that causes, or if you like, it broke the heart of Jesus and caused his heart to turn over within him as he saw the helplessness and the hopelessness of people's lives as sheep without a shepherd. But it was also the compassion that caused him to reach out to touch a leper that had not felt human touch for so long. And it was also this compassion that is used, the word is used it as the gospel writers write, and it says it talks about his indignant, his anger as he saw the impact of sin in the lives of those in this world. As he healed a deaf man in Mark 7 who could also not speak, Jesus, it said, sighed as he looked up to heaven, as he felt the pain of this man who had suffered so long. Beautiful? Oh, yes. Atmosphere? Oh, the forgiveness and grace that he brought to a place. Jesus could change the atmosphere in a single or simple word. Watch him handle an aggressive, stirred-up crowd of religious zealots in their hypocrisy, trying to catch Jesus and using a woman in order to do it. In order to trap him, a woman in fear of her life, accused and broken and beaten. In a moment of sheer creativity and wisdom, Jesus stoops and writes in the ground. And as he stirs with his finger the dust that each human being is made of, the accusers leave. And he looks up into these woman's eyes and says, neither do I accuse you. Neither do I condemn you. Go and live your life in sin. Fear is gone as she looks into the eyes of the man who within a few months will pay the debt that is owed for her sin. Beautiful. Oh, yes. And beautiful actions too. As he draws the attention of our attention to a poor widow who adds all that she has into a temple collection. As he stills the storm with words you would use to speak to an unruly puppy, sit. As he takes a towel and washes his squabbling disciples' smelly feet. And he goes up to a funeral procession and restores to a widow her only son. Oh, come on. Beautiful. And then as he walks those final steps up a hill, and as he lays his life down so he may draw all people to himself, Paul can't still get over it when he writes these words. You see, he says, at just the right time, when we were still powerless, Christ died for the ungodly. But God demonstrates his love for us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. And the beauty of a risen Saviour who stands by your side as an advocate in your defence, who intercedes and prays for you constantly, who brings you to his Father, who loves you and who planned all this, and who says, as he says to the disciples, I'm going to my Father and your Father, who calls us his friends, who gives us his Spirit to walk life with you and to change you, who seeks to bring his beauty into your life, his love, his joy, his peace, his patience, his kindness, is faithfulness and gentleness and self-control. I'm honestly not too worried. I'm not worried at all to sing. Actually, I'm thrilled to sing. You are beautiful beyond description, too marvelous for words, too wonderful for comprehension, like nothing ever seen or heard. And I stand in awe of you. May I introduce you to my King.